Hello and welcome to our London History Podcast, where we share our love of London, its people, places and history in 20-minute espresso shot episodes served with a dash of personality. I am Hazel Baker, London tour guide and CEO of London Guided Walks, providing private tours, treasure hunts and live London quizzes to Londoners and visitors alike. To accompany this podcast, we also have hundreds of London history blog posts for you to enjoy, absolutely free. And we've also launched the Daily London, providing you with daily inspiration of things to do in London for Londoners. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, or even add it to your Alexa flash briefings. Or you can check it all out on our website, londonguidedwalks.co.uk/flash. Don't forget too that we're also offering a September sale. You can get 20% off or any private tour booked by the end of this September. You can book it for January, April next year. It doesn't matter as long as you use the promo code SUMMER2020 and book before the end of the month to get your 20% off. All right, so we have also Ian McDiarmid in the studio today. He's a City of London guide. Hello.
Hello.
All right, so today we are all about the late Bronze Age Havering Hoard, which is at the Museum of London, Docklands. We were supposed to be going as a little preview earlier on, but of course COVID changed plans for that. And so we have visited ourselves today, and so we're able to give you the full visitor experience review.
Yeah, that's right. It's an amazing thing, isn't it? The main thing to say about the hoard, I think, is probably that it's the largest Bronze Age hoard found in the London area. It's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, Hazel, you're slightly better. No, you are better than I am at assimilating information. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions about the exhibition that we visited and about the Havering Hoard, if that's okay.
Cool, blimey. Well, let's just put it all into perspective for everybody else, because they might not have even heard of the Havering Hoard. And it's Museum of London, Docklands. So this is nearest Canary Wharf, West India Quay, rather than Museum of London in the City of London. So by no means are we Bronze Age experts at all, but we're talking from a point of view of knowing a little bit about history, watching lots and lots of Time Team, and talking about the visitor experience and what we took away from it, really. As Ian said, this is an absolutely free exhibition. Took us about 45 minutes to go around.
Yeah.
And also the Museum of London Docklands is actually in a warehouse. So nice to add a little bit of historic value. It's not a brand new building, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And while we're selling the Museum of Docklands exhibition, we might as well mention that obviously if you do go along, you can go around the Museum of Docklands itself.
Yes. So when we got there, we had our tickets scanned by two very friendly members of staff who were also wearing visors. There were hand sanitizers throughout, and they were automatic as well, which we have found elsewhere not to be the case.
Yeah, that's very important, isn't it, as a visitor?
Yeah.
I don't like it when you have to touch. The thing, but here they were automatic ones. And it's also worth pointing out that you do need to wear a mask when going around.
Yes, yeah. So I wore my visor. Ian wore his mask. Also, they had mats. Like doormats with the signs of where to go, and they had lots and lots of staff to help you sort of move on your way as well, and they did it really well, I thought.
Yeah, well, we're talking about it as a visitor experience. We didn't have to queue up. They regulate it by having a maximum of 20 people in the room at one time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were asked to wait, but we were the only people waiting. I think if you're unlucky, you might have a queue, but on the other hand, the exhibition has just opened, hasn't it? So it should. Yeah. I don't think it doesn't look as though it's ever going to be overwhelmed, does it?
No. All right, so let's set the scene then. So in 2018, a late Bronze Age site in Wennington, which is in Havering, which is East London, it was being excavated by archaeologists. And late on a Friday, 2 years ago, bronze objects were uncovered. 453 pieces, including tools, weapons, and other objects, were found in a total of 4 hoards, weighing in total 45 kilograms, which is just a huge amount. So together making it, as Ian has already said, the largest Bronze Age hoard ever found in London, but it's also the third largest hoard to be found in the entire country.
And also, we should mention perhaps that it's highly unusual to find 4 separate hoards forming one hoard, i.e., 4 individual burials but treated as one.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, Ian.
Oh, I thought I was going to ask the questions.
I've
Okay.
changed my mind.
Okay, go ahead.
When was the Bronze Age?
Right. Well, according to the exhibition, and I've got no reason for doubting this, they date the British Bronze Age as 2200 to 700 BC. Obviously, these prehistoric ages are movable feasts, but that sounds okay. And they've dated this particular hoard from some of the, I think the main dating evidence was the style of the axe heads. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And they've given it a kind of provisional dating of about 900 to 800 BC.
Yeah. And just to sort of help you phrase that, so the Bronze Age comes right after the Stone Age, but before the Iron Age.
Right, Hazel. Let me start asking you some questions
Go
then,
on
because you're the one who's very good at retaining information. What kinds of objects does the hoard contain?
Yeah, so there was a variety, but they kind of split it into 5 different areas. The biggest area, 42% of these 4 mini hoards and making the one Havering Hoard, was 42% was tools, which I thought was quite interesting. I thought they were going to be, really quite extravagant, beautiful pieces, like say, let's like the Staffordshire Hoard, but no, 42% tools. And then closely following that were metalworking materials, and that was at 39%. Down next were weapons at 15%, and then fixtures and fittings, 3%, and ornamental was a staggering 1% only.
What made up the fixtures and fittings?
Well, we'll come on to that, I'm
Will we?
sure.
Okay, jolly good.
The bit you haven't mentioned, and we should have done really, is that these 4 mini hoards, making the Havering Hoard, were found in a ditch. And this was a square shaped area of land. And in that land, in that enclosure, there were also remains of a roundhouse and other structures. So it wasn't just a bit of metal or 4 bits of metal hidden in the ground. So they're thinking that it's possible that this is an area either for a settlement or for ritual purposes as well.
Yeah, I remember them saying that the ditch itself was discovered in the 1960s
Mm-hmm.
through aerial photography in the classical way that where the ditch was, it's a sort of square shaped ditch. It left a crop mark, and they're digging it now, I think, because somebody wants to dig up the gravel.
Yeah,
So they've been,
for construction.
yeah.
Yeah, and also what I found interesting is that the 4 hoards weren't equal in size. Now I don't know about weight, because that would have been a good one to ask really, but there was no one in the exhibition to ask questions, were
No,
there?
but they gave you information on the number of objects in each
Yeah,
hall, didn't
yeah.
they?
So
So
the first hoard was 131, the second hoard was 155, third hoard was 122, but then the fourth hoard was a baby one, only 45 objects.
now, Hazel, what can we learn from the hoard?
Learn far more than us plebs can. But what I took away from here was that it was the number of objects that will give us a clue about not just the people, but also how they worked. Because these weren't personal items. If only 1% are ornamental, then these are working items. They were used items. The axes and the swords had bits out of them, like they'd been quite well used. So I think you can take a lot from that. And don't forget also, the Havering area was quite close to the Thames as well. So we're looking at trade and travel and thinking about where all these different components are coming from. I think I remember reading about the copper alloy was from the Alps. And this is talking about marshland in what's now East London, and they were able to get all their materials from across the known Bronze Age world.
In the exhibition, from memory, they don't make clear, which may be fair enough, how the foreign material like the copper got there. Do they?
No, but they do suggest that because of the river, the water was the fastest, easiest, and safest way to get around. But I don't know whether there were copper ore merchants just going along in their little boat on these rivers and seeing who wants to buy. I mean, how did that all of sort of that happen? Or was that there were dedicated markets that in springtime you go to your copper ore market? I've no idea.
Mm. They put a lot of the finds together with other material from the Museum of London to provide context. And a bit of I think I'm right in saying that the context was partly provided by two craniums, which had rather nasty marks on them.
Gosh, yes. And they said that these marks, these great big holes, one of them was at the front of the head. Both of the craniums had their lower half, their jaws missing, but they still had the upper bit of the skull, hence cranium. But that they've actually survived these injuries, and that had enabled the bone to regrow.
Yes, or they'd survived long enough for the healing process to begin, is how they put it.
Yeah.
Well, because there was a rather nasty hole, wasn't there?
It didn't look very good at all.
I mentioned that because I mean, they don't make this explicit in the exhibition, but you think of the copper ore, you think of trade, maybe, or at least exchange of goods between the peoples.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact they've got those two parts of skulls on display indicate that it wasn't particularly friendly time necessarily.
No, I mean, but they did say about the reputation of the Bronze Age being a violent age. But of course, if you're living in your little family unit in this settlement, I mean, how many times are you going to meet foreigners? Or foreigners as in those that you don't know. It's going to be quite I mean, we've had lockdown and we've got quite excited when we saw the postman, didn't we?
I wanted this walking around the exhibition because what they've got is a rather fantastic photograph. It's actually of the marshes on the other side of the river today, and it's kind of been adapted to make it look like Bronze Age, so they've edited out the buildings, and it's quite actually it was quite magical watching it, wasn't it? I mean, it's just a film of Rainham marshes over a period of hours. It's actually worth watching. But that made me think of the obvious fact that these people are on the river, and you'd have people coming up and down the river, and how you'd respond to that. I mean, do you think, oh, good, here comes somebody probably wanting to, they may have copper ore on them, that's great. Or do you get very anxious in case they're going to leave a mark in your cranium?
Yeah. I mean, you just have no idea. Maybe they had some sort of flag signals or whatever. But don't forget, there's this settlement had a ditch. So would that have been for protective purposes?
Yeah. You were talking earlier about the numbers in each of the hoards. What kind of objects do these hoards consist of?
Yeah, so the socketed axe heads, which I was surprised to find came from South Wales. So this I suppose is linking up with how connected the Bronze Age world was. The carp's tongue sword, that was quite big. There were spearheads, there were terret rings, and these are the finest examples that have been found in the UK. There has been comparable ones found in France, but they're rather proud of their terret rings.
What's a terret ring?
Oh, right. So this isn't bling. Well, it is, but for the horses. So they believe it's these circular rings put on the reins to stop the reins getting tangled up when the horse is tallied with a cart, which kind of then gives the indication that maybe carts are used as well. It's not just boats and people on foot. There was a very nice jet bracelet. Had my eye on that one, and that's from Whitby in Yorkshire. And the gold bracelet was either from Ireland or Wales. And then also there were bronze ingots. So these are bits of bronze that have been sort of like missed the mould, and then they've put those in the hoard as well. So they aren't all completed pieces.
I was saying earlier about this photograph of Rainham marshes and how I found that rather magical. What did the Thames look like at the time that this hoard was buried?
Well, I spent 13 minutes looking at this video of the light over rain and marshes. That's how long the video was, and as you said, it was quite magical, hypnotic. Um, don't forget, we're talking about a time that is 3,000 years ago, and we talk about the Thames and the embankment with the Victorians building the embankment in where it's London now. But the Thames, even then, was far considerably wider than we could imagine. The riverbanks were all marshlands, really quite flat, and but also they had lots of plant life, lots of animals and birds. But it would have been quite like you would have been on your own.
Why was the hoard buried? They advance four theories, don't they, as to why it
Yeah.
might have been there. And
Yeah. Well, shall I mention the four theories and then we can sort of bash them out?
yeah,
All right, so theory one is that because this is a late Bronze Age hoard, the theory is that bronze is losing its value, iron was the new favourite, and that bronze was no longer needed and therefore buried in a ditch out of sight, out of mind, not needed. The second one was a sign of power and status. So the bigwig, the local bigwig, was controlling who had access to it, and that would also control the price. The third one was that bronze was just kept there for put there for safekeeping, and that metal workers are believed to have been moving around the country, selling their wares, plying their trade, and that with bronze being heavy, they needed somewhere to hide it until they needed it again. And then the fourth one was that the hoard was an offering to the gods. Because when you have a look at how the settlement is laid out, the entrance to the settlement is at the east, i.e., when the sun is rising. And then also, when you have a look at where these four pots of hoards were found, they are actually buried in line with the way that the sun moves, which I thought was actually rather clever. And of course, that was a big thing for Bronze Age times. So they're the four theories. Number one, looking at bronze losing its value. What do you think on that one?
well, this is the one I don't like, partly because it's contradicted by the other three, which are based on the value of the bronze being valued, and this is just saying that it probably was suddenly superseded. And this is one of the problems with all these Iron Age, Stone Age, Bronze Age periods, is that they're all very vague and the changes weren't sudden, and bronze could well have been used alongside iron for a long time. So
Well,
that,
especially when you've got limited resources.
yeah, yeah. And then the other three, well, number two, which is the one about it's a sign of power and status and somebody trying to control the bronze supply. Well, yeah, it could have been, but there's no evidence. And this is one of the, as an outsider, this is one of the frustrations for me of with archaeology, is that they can just state any theory they like, and because there's no evidence, they can't be wrong.
Yeah, well, don't forget that it was only 2 years ago that they found this stuff.
Yeah.
So they've got plenty enough time to start putting
Well,
things
and
together,
also,
and they haven't finished excavating the rest of the settlement site yet.
yeah, and they know what they're doing, don't
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
But the numbers 3 and 4 are the ones that I like, and I think
Yeah.
which are that they were possibly for recycling. But the one that it seems to me more plausible with the care that was put in and the value of these objects is that it's something to do with ritual. So what do you think, Hazel? What's your favourite one?
I'm veering towards the ritual because of the importance of the sun, and also, as you said, the way that they were carefully laid. They reckon it took two people, one standing up and passing the objects to the other one, who had dug the hole, and they were in the hole as they were carefully placing these items. So this isn't just a stuff it all in a bag and cover it up because we're going to be back in a year to reclaim it. These were purposefully put down in a particular order and in a particular fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going for 4.
Okay, 4 being that it's a ritual offering. Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, I'll run with that as well.
So yeah, so it was a worthwhile trip, and let us know if you go. Tag us in the photos on Twitter or Instagram, and it'd be lovely to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I thought it was truly spectacular.
Yeah, and for free.
Yeah, not bad, eh?
Not bad at all.